Hi, I'm Greg Dell, joined by attorney Stephen Jessup, and we're going to discuss Unum Disability Insurance Company and specifically reviews of Unum. And Stephen, on our website we have lots of reviews of Unum, which is not surprising considering they are still probably the world's largest group disability insurance company and been around for a long time, have a very checkered history in terms of regulatory settlement agreements and class action lawsuits that have been filed against them and different states coming down against them, and they have policies and procedures in place now which they seem to follow. It doesn't mean it leads towards more approvals, but there are some kind of regulations, at least internally, that we know they follow or are supposed to follow because we see them every time we get claim files, every time we go against them in litigation. So we have an extensive history and knowledge of them. The nice thing about reviews is that claimants, policyholders, get to express what's going on with their claims in real time because there's trends that go on over time, whether there's new management at Unum, whether there's new claims people who came in, whether there's some new view that Unum came up with internally to try to deny claims or some new policy interpretation that they're using to deny claims, whether they're having payment processing issues or denying claims or delaying payments of benefits. So the more people share their experiences, the more everyone who's a Unum policyholder out there gets to benefit and see this. It helps them avoid denial, it helps them get back on claim if they're denied because the community and us as lawyers are aware of what's going on. Besides the fact that we probably see hundreds, if not thousands, of Unum denials every year just from the people that call us and talk to us about their claims to learn about what's going on. But in this video, we talk about what are our views of Unum. And we've handled thousands, more than any other company that we've gone, helped people with just because of the pure volume of what they do. I mean, it's almost not even close in terms of the amount of policyholders that Unum has compared to the second place company. So when we talk about your feelings on when someone calls and says it's Unum versus they call and say it's Berkshire or Northwestern Mutual or Hartford or whatever, you have an opinion because you've seen thousands and thousands of claims over your career. So what is your thought process when someone calls and says, hey, it's Unum, can you help me with this lawsuit or denial or application?
Denial? If it's denial, it's like this. First thing I think it's going to be tough. I found Unum more so than other companies. Once they've made a decision to deny, it seems like you can do so much to try to add to the file, but they seemed very set on sticking to their initial opinion of a denial. I think that's in part due to the way that they review claims, this round table discussions that they have where, in my opinion, when you're getting all the doctors who may be reviewing it, and generally speaking, they're Unum employees with the claims people, and they're all discussing, the file as a group, it leads to groupthink. Someone comes up with an opinion and everyone tries to figure out how to way to support that opinion. So my experience when it comes to Unum and there's a claim denial, I already know it's going to be tougher to get the claim approved than maybe some of the other companies who just do really bad denials and they do the bare minimum so you know what can be added and what you can do. Unum I find just as more of a tendency to want to stick to their initial decision to deny.
I see Unum as a mass assembly line. Their goal is on the sales side is we're going to sell as many policies as we can. We're going to get our premiums collected as high as possible. And we're going to try to get our payouts as low as possible, and hence we're going to be profitable. And in years past, Unum has had years where, and this is not a misstatement by me, they have had years where they have had profits of almost $1 billion. Yeah. Not revenue, profits. That is a incredible amount of money. That is a volume game at its best where you sell that much in policies and pay out that little, or have not just pay out, potentially have that few amount of people filing claims. I don't know what their exact percentages of policies written versus the percentage of people that claim. Most people don't want to be on disability. It's not, no one wants to be sick, obviously. And when you go on disability, you take a substantial income hit because the most you can ever get is 60% of what you were earning. And that's assuming that your employer is providing a policy that covers up to 60% of your salary. So nobody really wants to be on disability, but if you do have to go on disability, you want to think that you have a company that's going to review it fairly and do it and look at it and give you the opportunity to get paid. Unfortunately, Unum does so much volume that when you said, we know they have this group review, and once someone basically gets on the bandwagon to say, hey, let me back up besides that. It's almost like there's no emotion.
No, it's
there's no attachment. It's just another number. There might be a name to that number, but it's this policy, you know, it's just another claim. They don't know, sometimes they don't even know the benefit amount that's going on or anything about it, and there's no human attachment to it because it's so much volume and so much to push through, and the managers are so busy and the claim reps are so overworked that there's no sensitivity, there's no human dynamic. And I know we deal with that all the time. For us, it's always personal in the sense because we're frustrated. We feel what the client's feeling when we present this. And then from the client, we love it and thrive on going up against this multi-billion-dollar company. But the client's just this little, I mean, they're helpless without the representation of a lawyer going up against this monster. And going back to where it was before, then Unum does a lot of things in group reviews. And they try to make like, oh, we're reviewing in group. But it's nonsense. We're reviewing in a group so that we can all align our opinions
get the same opinion
together. And that's what happens. So going back to you where you say, if you get a denial, it's hard, but you win. And what does it take in those scenarios that you can go up against this billion-dollar company, provide hope and opportunity for these people to get paid? How are you able to do that?
The way I like to do it, right, like you said, we in a lot of ways take on the emotional energy of the client. You know, you can't help it. You have a relationship with the client. The insurance company, like you said, is very methodical. So in the presentation, I like to be methodical with especially with Unum, and with all carriers, but especially with Unum. So it's a matter of seeing, you know, and it's hard because in their file reviews, a lot of times it's jammed in soap notes. So it's really hard to disseminate what exactly is going on where, you know, claim files for other carriers, here's the opinion of the outside peer review doctor. It's easy to find. So you have to dig. And it's really the way I look at it is what are they saying is missing and what can we add to address certain things. And even going into claims, I think people, and you can't fault them for it, you know, their employers say, hey, you have this policy, if you're disabled, it will protect you. They have faith that the insurance company is going to do the right thing, right? So they may have, you know, some type of chronic pain condition, and they think that they're submitting the records, and the doctor says, hey, he's not capable of working, that should be enough. Well, we know just from doing this that they're going to look at the subjectivity of your complaints and try to argue that there's not enough there, or our doctors, we agree with the diagnosis, we don't think it's as bad. So it's always looking at what additional, as objective as possible information that can be added to a file. So I like to be very methodical about the information that is to be presented, like the actual nuts and bolts of the medical, what type of additional testing can be done. And then also being cognizant of the limitations that you know may write in a policy for conditions. You know, the 24-month mental health is standard across the board for most insurance companies. Unum doesn't go as far as some other companies with like limitations for chronic fatigue by name or neuromusculoskeletal. They do one that I think is even worse. They call it self-reported symptom condition. And then when you read the definition, it's the manifestation of your conditions that can't be verified by testing: headaches, pain, ringing in the ears, fatigue. Well, you can't verify that any which way, right? So you also have to be cognizant of, you know, trying to find, you know, of how they may apply that and how you try to get around those types of things. So I think with them, my approach is always being as methodical as I know they're going to be. Like you said, they just go, and it's almost like, oh, we checked this box, we checked these boxes, we did these, just deny. You know, and I think a big thing, like you said too, the claims people are overwhelmed. When they deny a claim, it's off their desk. You know, the appeal process goes to a different department. So for them, they deny you, they're done with you, maybe forever. Some people, as you know, we've experienced, they never file their appeal, they don't do it timely, and you know, they waive legal rights. You know, or if they get the appeal approved, it may end up with the same claims person or go somewhere else. So sometimes I think, like in a situation with Unum, because of the volume, they're looking to do the bare minimum to deny a claim. And now, hey, for purposes of me as claims manager, I've done my part, it's off my desk, right, kind of thing. So I think you just have to be as methodical as possible with them.
I think a lot of the frustration and the reason you see bad Unum reviews more often than not is a couple things. Number one, they're like dealing with the government in a lot of ways. And I say that because they have their set ways of how they're going to do it. They're not going to change. Mm-hmm. We see it all the time, no matter how many times we've zinged them or told them it's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong, nothing changes. The other thing, which really leads to the source of frustration, and you know this, is they don't care. They just don't care. If they got it wrong, they're like, okay, we'll pay. And they will pay. But you got to go after them aggressively to get them to pay. And because of that, when you talked about your methodical approach, well, you didn't come out and say it. It's because you're always thinking about, I may not win this appeal, although I want to. And we do win a lot of appeals. So they're not going to not reverse themselves. But you're always thinking about, you're talking to a judge. You're looking at how the judge, after you win the appeal, you have to file a lawsuit. That's how it is in these cases. How's a judge going to look at this and put a reasonable spin on that? So when you talk about being methodical, you know that you already know every single move like your enemy that Unum's going to make. We know every single resource they have, every which way they're going to respond to this thing. So we try to anticipate that, especially when we're doing appeals. But you have to be methodical because you go, you know what? They're so busy. They don't care when they review a claim. Whatever their doctor tells them, whatever their vocational person does, that's what they're going to adopt. And you and I sometimes say to ourselves, we could put in a 1,000-page appeal with the most detailed thing in the world, but they're just going to take our stuff, send it to their person, and no matter who those other people are that we don't know who they're going to choose, although we know they have a track record of going back to the same people for 15 years.
You see the same doctor's names
all
over and
the
over
freaking
again.
time, they're still going to adopt those people. So really, we're doing this and trying to do every single thing we can because in an ERISA appeal, you only get one chance to put it in there. But when we do get to court, the likelihood is we will get our fair shake because it's no longer Unum's decision. It's a federal judge's decision, or in some cases, it could be a jury's decision if it's a policy that gives you the right to a jury trial. Often you don't. So, you know, the source of this thing is, how do you feel about Unum? Obviously frustrated, but understand you're going up against the biggest, the baddest, the monster who, if they have to pay, like they've been fined hundreds of millions of dollars, been asked to reassess tens of thousands of claims that they unlawfully reviewed in the past, been there, done that, survived that, the company is financially sound, they're going to keep doing what they're doing. So you have to outsmart them and do everything you can to put forward the evidence. So the sources of frustration that come from people are legitimate and well earned. It's not just someone complaining saying, they didn't pay me, therefore I don't like them. Unum does this because they can only manage so much in their size. So that's my 2 cents about Unum. Certainly, you know, love the reviews that people put out there, encourage those to come. Also very important, we always offer a free review or consultation if you're someone out there who has a Unum claim, whether it's short-term or long-term. Reach out to Stephen or myself. No matter where you live in the country, we're always available to assist you and look forward to discussing your claim with you.